Hello, Fiona Whitten from Oakville Crafts here, and welcome to my latest virtual card and a cuppa. This morning we met over at Home Grange, and those who were able to make it in person, I shared 3 cards, and they brought their kits, and they all sat and had a great time chatting and drinking teas and coffees, making their cards. And then this afternoon I'm going live here on Facebook to share with you the 3 cards that I took this morning, and I'm going to make a 4th one live in front of you. So this is the kit for the that we used this morning. I guess when you first look at it, you think, oh, actually, there's not too much in there. So we have an envelope, as always, a Orchid Oasis card base. So this is a sheet of A4 cut in half and then scored at 10.5 to create card base. There's a piece of basic white, which will form our innie. A strip of, again, this is Orchid Oasis Designer Series paper. This is part of the 6x6 in colour pack. So you've got checked one side on this particular one and dots, so people could decide which way they wanted to put on. So that's actually designed to go inside the card, but really people are free to do whatever they want to. I'm just going to check very quickly that this has gone live, and I think it has. I'll just make sure it's also quiet, because I don't want to be listening to myself on this. Yep. Okay, so let me do that. Okay, and then the other piece that everybody had in their kit was another piece of basic white, which has been die cut. Now I've used the Pretty Pop-Ups dies, and as you can see, hopefully from here, this one is a circle. And I'll share with you the other ones as well that come in the die pack. So yeah, so this is a circle, and the idea is that most of these, in fact all of them, are only partially die cut. So we have butterflies, dragonflies, smaller butterflies, and then we have different sorts of flowers and leaves, which my advice to everybody was actually to turn it over and pop from the other side, and as you can see, bits will pop up, but they won't fall out because they're not cut all the way through. And then when you put it onto a piece of coloured cardstock or paper, then you can see colours coming through, which is a really, really nice effect. So that was the kit, and I'll just show you the dies. So there are 10 dies in the pack, and it's just dies. That it doesn't directly, there wasn't like a stamp set or anything like that goes directly with it. So you're obviously free to add whatever sentiments or other stamps that you want to. So this was the large circle that was used to die cut here. So not only are there the butterflies and the dragonflies and the flowers, but there's sort of like a swirled effect as well that goes around various parts. Now if your Stampin' cut and emboss machine or whatever die machine that you use to cut your dies is not particularly tight, then you may find that you will need to pass it through a couple of times just to make sure that you do get all the impressions, because not only are there these little swirls, but each of the butterflies have got some little indentations, as have the flowers, and obviously you don't want to lose that detail. So you may have to pass it, as I said, a couple of times, or add a shim piece of cardstock or paper just to make sure that it does actually go through. So there's that. So that's the circle. Then there is a rectangle and an oval, and then there are also all these little other dies. So we've got 2 butterflies, a dragonfly, and then some little flowers. Now when I first looked at it, I thought that they actually cut everything, but they don't. They're very much like the circle. So this is the oval. So as I said, you can pop bits up. It's up to you which bits you want to concentrate on. So you could do all the butterflies and the dragonflies, or you could do all the flowers or all the leaves or everything. It's really, really up to you. So that's the oval. This is the rectangular panel. So this has just got a dragonfly and, oh, it has a butterfly. This is the thing, when you look at this and you think, oh, okay, and you start colouring it, and then you realise that you've missed something because there's some other little detail that it really is a case of you blink, then you can miss it. So that's the rectangle. And then these are the little ones that I was talking about. So they don't cut all the way through. So we have one butterfly, two butterflies, and then the dragonfly. And again, you can pop up the wings, you can pop up the tail or the antenna. And then again, we've got these little flowers as well, which are really cute. So it means that if you're have a sentiment which is not part of your main part of the card, you can then add some extra detail to it. And that's what I'm going to do this afternoon. So those are all the dies. And I'm guessing you probably want to see what it was that everybody made this morning, or at least the 3 that I took with me this morning. So the first one that I took was this card. So I used the Sending Smile stamp set for the sentiment. So I've got the Sending Birthday Wishes. And then I just, as I said, I didn't go mad colouring everything. So I concentrated on just the leaves and these particular flowers. Now, what you use for the colouring medium is really up to you. So I've used on here Stampin' blends. So I took this morning my Stampin' blends, and I also took the Stampin' right markers as well. But you could use watercolour pencils, whatever colours that you like. So we've got the Orchid Oasis here. We've got Pale Papaya in the centre, and then the leaves are the Parakeet Party. But I just used the light versions of all the Stampin' blends just to so it wasn't too in your face. So then once I've done that, then I stamped the sentiments. So the Sending is one stamp, and then the Birthday Wishes is another. The nice thing about this stamp set is that it actually has, excuse me, quite a few. So the Sending comes as one, and then there's also other portions of a sentiment that you can add depending on what the occasion is that you're sending the card. And you don't have to use the whole of the sentiment. So you could, if you wanted to, blank out bits. So you could send one saying sending love, sending, or just use a card to say hello, or just not use those bits and just put hello. It's really it's a very versatile stamp set, and you can, as I say, just by using some masking tape, you can play around with things so that you end up sending a slightly different sentiment. So the one thing that you will find is that despite your best efforts at popping everything up, if you are going to put this in a flat envelope, then things will lie down flat again, because especially if you're posting it, because the good old post office will put it through a machine that basically it just goes through a set of rollers, so it will all get flattened down. So you could tell people just to simply pick up the bits and pop them up again, or you could make a box envelope for it to go in so that it doesn't necessarily get squished. Only issue then is, of course, that you have to send it as a large letter. But I love the effect of this. And then this one actually has some Wink with Stella on as well, because let's face it, you do have to use Wink with Stella when you're making a card. And then the inside, I just simply added my piece of double-sided paper to the bottom. And then I finished off my envelope by stamping a flower, and I just coloured the middle as well. The flower is from the Sending Smile stamp set as well. So that was number 1. Number 2 I went slightly different in that instead of colouring the leaves and these little flowers, I actually coloured butterflies and the dragonflies. And again, as I said, these things have a habit of going back down again. So that's what I did. And then I just used, this one I used Stampin' Right markers on simply because I just wanted to pick out bits rather than colour the whole thing. And then the sentiment, I actually cut this piece. So this is the reverse side of that piece. I cut it so that it fitted the width of this piece of basic white, and then so that they knew where the centre was. And I just stamped using my Orchid Oasis ink onto that, so it's a tone-on-tone effect. So that was that one, and then I put a flower. So we've got the Orchid Oasis Pale Papaya, and then this is Parakeet Party. So there's ink, some stamping involved, and then a similar flower on the envelope, because as you know, we don't like to send naked envelopes. And then the third card that I took did something slightly different in that I took this piece of white, which measures 10 centimetres by 14.4, so it's basically a half a centimetre narrower and shorter than the card front. So I just simply cut it into a 9.5 by 9.5 centimetre square, because the circle just fits nicely onto that. Coloured portions of it. Instead of colouring the little flowers this time, I went for the larger ones and the leaves. And then with the piece of cardstock that I'd cut off, I cut this down. So this measures 9.5 across, and it's just under 4 centimetres wide, because I wanted to have a gap between the bottom, the middle and the top. And then I actually used a different stamp set for this. I used the, where is it? I've lost it. Oh. Why is it whenever you have it, you know, it's the Celebrating You stamp set. And the reason I like to use that is that you can actually colour in the sentiment. So the 3 colours that I used on there is also used on the birthday portion of the sentiment. So these was blends, and then these are, I would like to say blends. They must be, because I used the tuxedo black. So again, we've got Parakeet Party, Pale Papaya, and then the Orchid Oasis. The inside, I just simply put the cardstock, the paper in, I should say. And then the envelope, rather than stamping a flower or anything like that, I actually decided to go a little bit different. And I stamped the sentiment 3 times. So I started with the one in the middle. Probably wasn't quite in the middle, given the fact that there's more of a gap here than there is there. So I probably should have shifted it to the left a little bit. But if you start with the one in the middle, then there's enough space to get a complete stamp either side. If you start here and then go across, you might end up find that there'll be a big gap here that you will end up filling with just a portion of a sentiment, and I didn't kind of want to do that. So just the 3 there kind of fits nicely. So that was my 3 cards that went with me this morning. And I guess it's now time to think about what I'm going to do for the 4th card now. So, as I said, I don't need my envelope just now. I've got my my base card, my piece of basic white and that, and then I have this. Now, I think, I'm going to cut this again, similar to the one that I took this morning. So that means I need my Stampin' trimmer, which of course is on the other side of the table. So just excuse me whilst I just reach it. So I'm going to cut this Now, at the moment, as I said, it's 10 centimetres across. So actually, I might just stay with 10. Let's see now. If I put this down, you can see where it's going to go. So there's probably a bit more of a gap at the top than the bottom, but hey, such is life. So, so that's that, which then leaves me this piece, which I'll figure out in a second. Now, the $64 million question is, am I going to put this, I buried it, so I could put it this way. If you know what, I am going to cut this down to 9.5, because then that cuts off that funny bit at the top. There we go. Just made it. So make this 9.5. So this is going to be 9.5 by 9.5. That's that. So I could put this in the middle. I could put this here like I had that one. And then that one, so I need to chop that down a little bit. So again, I'm going to make this 9.5 wide. And it's actually about 3.8, I figured was actually a good size to fit. Right, that's all the cutting I'm going to do. So I have this piece that I'm going to put here. I have this piece that I'm going to put here. Maybe that will probably move down a bit, like so. I want my dragonfly. You can have the dragonfly and the butterflies going whichever way you want, but I actually quite like him facing up, like so. And then I'm going to colour these. I was going to use pencils, and I think I still might. So the pencils, if you use pencils, will give a softer effect. If you use the lighter coloured Stampin' blends, then you will have a lighter effect. If you use the darker ones, then sometimes they can be a little bit too dark. So I've got all of my watercolour pencils here, and the reason I've got them is that I just want to, let's see what's closest to Orchid Oasis. Probably there isn't one, so let's just go for it. So we've got Flirty Flamingo, so I'm going to do the flowers in that, and I'm not going to colour it completely. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to colour part of it, and then I'm going to use my Wink of Stella. That's a good medium for moving the colour around. You could use a blender pen, you could use watercolour painters, but actually I quite like using the Wink of Stella because it also adds that little bit of a bling straight off. And to clean, I just simply wipe onto my grid paper. Now, let's see. So Granny Apple Green is probably the closest to the parakeet party, so I'm going to use that on the leaves. So as I said, it gives a much subtler effect, and this is one of those things that every time you go back to it, you'll notice a bit that you haven't actually coloured. So best thing to do is be methodical about it and start on the outside or the inside, it's really up to you, and just work your way around and in, or around and out. Don't just be random. Well, you can be, but you're more likely to miss something then. So It's very therapeutic. So one of the ladies this morning brought her granddaughter, and they had a great time sitting there and colouring. Because let's face it, I mean, who doesn't like colouring? It's very soothing. And as you can see, I'm not exactly being too neat about it, because I just simply want to get the colour down. Now, this is where I look at it and think, now have I missed something? But I think we're good. So I'm just going to quickly, again, use the Wink of Stella. Just to spread the colour around a bit. Give it a little bit of a bling. So it's the 1st of June. It's like crazy, crazy. So where's the time gone? Another few weeks and we'll be halfway through the year. Not that I want to wish the time away, but it's just kind of a bit nuts, really. But hey ho. So being 1st of June, there's a couple of things going on. We have the retirement list for the January to June mini catalogue has gone live, so that I put it up on my Facebook page the other day, and it was in my newsletter as well. So the items that are not carrying over into another catalogue are retiring at the end of the month. So if there's something that you like, paper, embellishments or whatever, then now's the time to get a hold of them. They're only available whilst supplies last, so don't say I didn't warn you. So I think that's all of those, and then I'm going to do the flowers. Now I was using Flirty Flamingo, and again I'm only going to do these. I think I might only do them. Oh yeah, I'll do all of these. Well, I'm trying to hurry without hurrying too much. Once this is fixed onto the card, because it's not Stampin' Blends, it's actually, you could go back and touch up if you need to. Oh, I told you there's always something to miss. Quick. I'll probably want to do the centres as well. If you find that you don't have enough colour on there, just go and use your pencil again and go over it and add a bit more. The other thing you could do is actually use your ink pad, and if you give it a really, really, really good squeeze, especially close to where the hinge is, you'll be able to transfer some of the ink onto the lid, and then you can pick it up and colour that way too. So you can use again Wink of Stella, or you can use blender pens or aqua painters. It's really whatever your preferred method is for colouring. Right, that's that. I guess maybe I want to do the centres of the flower. So these have got little indents, so I'm just going to just do dots, I think, in there, rather than doing a great big, there we go, here. So the indents are a really useful place to just put your mark. And again, you don't have to be too particular about it, especially if you want to just get the card made. But then again, if you want to take your time and just simply enjoy yourself, then that's your prerogative. Right, so as I said, this is a lot more subtle than the other ones. Let's see. Although they're not the same colour, you can see that these are a lot darker in colour. So if you want a subtle effect, then pencils are a good way. So that was the dark colours, this was the lighter colour. So it's slightly lighter than the Stampin' blends. The one thing about the Stampin' blends though is, of course, because they're alcohol markers, they will spread. So even if you just colour in the middle portion, you'll find that the colour will kind of spread slightly to the edges. So that just makes it that bit easier. Right, so that's that bit done. And I'm going to stamp. Now, what colour am I going to use on here to stamp this? Now, I could use the Parakeet Party. Or I could use the... I could use Flirty Flamingo even, which I didn't think to bring over. Or I could use the Orchid Oasis. I'm just going to stick to the Orchid Oasis. If I'm not too keen on it, I can always just turn it over. So the sending is actually quite wide. So I've put it on this block. Let's see, can I remember which one? These have got H. This is H. It's got a H on it. So I've put it on here, but it's a bit skew-if on there. You should see that they sort of go at a slant. So you do need to be careful if you put it on a smaller piece to make sure that if you want it straight, then you kind of you're going to be twisting the block a bit, so you're not if I was to put this straight on here, as you can see now that the sending would be at a slant. I actually want it so that it's slightly. I can't quite see if I'm going to make it. I think I will. We're going for it anyway. And hopefully that's done the trick. Yep. So that's that bit. And I'm going to put on, and I was going to put smiles across the miles, but actually I think I might do this as another birthday. But I'm going to change the colour this time. And I'm going to use Pale Papaya. So I just want to find the birthday wishes one, which is here. That's that. So these, the sending smile stamp set is a photopolymer. So when it comes to stamping, you want to be able to stamp on something that's not too firm. So I've got a foam mat under here, which has a bit of give. So that means that I can actually just stamp straight away. I mean, if you've got a Stampin' Piers mat or something like that, that's equally as good. And I'm going to put this on here. Obviously, I don't have a problem with this one being at a slant, unless I actually manage to get it on there a bit skew-if. Like that. So I've got my sending wishes, birthday wishes. Now I'm going to use my, put some of these pencils out the way for a second. I'm going to use the dies, and I'm going to, let's see now, which ones are going to fit. I think we've got a couple of little flowers here that will work. So I think I might put, or maybe I'll put a butterfly on. Put the butterfly on kind of there. And then this is going to go in a corner, I think. Let's see now if we go across a corner, like so. And then, so we've got 3 of the same here. So I don't know if that one will fit on that opposite corner there. Can try. And see. Right, I'm going to use my mini Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. Now, we don't have a magnetic plate for this yet. So if you want to make sure that things aren't going to go walkabout, then you may want to use some washi tape or some masking tape. It's really up to you. So I've got my bottom plate number 1 first, then I've got my second plate, which is number 2. I don't think the butterfly is actually one way or the other, so I don't think that really matters too much as to which way up it goes. So I'm just going to put that on there. I'm not too worried about the fact that it's just lifted off, because at the end of the day it's just simply going to hold that in place when I put the other plate on top. So that's going to go there, and then we're going to put the other one, I think I said we're going to put it in this corner here. Maybe I'll have to go that way, I think. We'll see. Maybe if I put it right in, it might not cut there. We'll see. So that's those 3, and then I just need to find my other plate. So then put the plate number 2 on top. I stagger mine just so that I know that it's going to cut and take a hold. If you try putting them through with them all level, sometimes the machine doesn't like it, and it thinks you're forcing stuff through. I don't know why, but I think these are quite tight. So I'm going to go backwards and forwards a few times and apologise for the squeak. It's just developed that. I don't know what's going on there. Right. Let's see how that went. Let's move that out of the way. Let's peel this off. Don't need those. Carefully peel this off. Oh, that is really sweet. Yeah, this is the one thing about this. Sometimes the masking tape, the washi tape will tear. So I might end up having to do this again. It's half the problem with it going through the machine. It will make it, maybe we'll put a bit of bling on that. So I'll need to fix that. Just start with a little bit of glue and see how that goes. Just to pop it up. Oops. Little bit, she says. Completely mashed it. Oops. Now I'm playing with the lights. Oh dear. What am I like? Let's push that down. I think that is going to be quite noticeable. So I will have to do this bit again. So when you do see the finished card, it will have been redone. So I can pop these up, pop the butterflies up, and you can pop bits of the flowers up, like I said. And again on this one, so just about get away with that on that corner. And then you could colour them and add them. So if you want to add this, you would, as I said, you want to pop it up from behind. I'm just going to use my take your pick tool. So if you just use the pointy bits, the pointy end I should say. So I'm just going to do, I think I'm just going to do the butterflies and the dragonfly. Sometimes it's just easier just to bend the card and do that way. So you could use the poker tool and poke through from one side, and there is another tool on the other end of it, which is like a spatula. So you could equally use the spatula to get in there to pull things up. And then it's up to you whether or not you want to glue that on, or simply or use Stampin' Dimensionals. If you are going to use Stampin' Dimensionals, then obviously you want to put them in the corners. But then the flowers and the things that you don't want to have popped up, you can put some dimensionals behind them. And that will then obviously make sure that they don't pop up. I can't just say, you know what, I'm going to go nuts. I prefer the pokey tool, but so I'm going to use that quickly. Oops. Seem to be making a bit of a pig's ear of this. But I'm not going to do the leaves, I'm just going to do these larger flowers. And I was going to say you can normally tell which bits you can poke up because you can see the colour through, but because I've used watercolour pencils, you can't. If I'd used the blender pens, they would have shown through. Alright, is that all of those? I think so. And then actually the last thing I'm going to do, so I've just decided I'm going to add a bit more colour, is I'm going to just, so I've got white flowers, but I've got yellow centres. Saw some other ones here. That just finishes them off. And obviously you can make the centres as big or as small as you want. I think that's all of them. Yay! So I'm going to pop those up on dimensionals. And I do actually have them to hand. So I'm going to put the bigger ones in the corners. Because they're the bigger spaces. Now you don't need to go mad with this all anyway, so I've got a nice big space in the middle there, so I'll just put one there. And I think I might just put a couple on the edges as well, just to make sure that it doesn't sag. Be nothing worse than having a saggy focal point. I don't normally go quite as mad as this, but hey. And I'm now looking at that sentiment thinking, oh, I don't like that. So, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to ditch that. I'm going to put this, I've turned my card around completely, gone completely not what I was planning on doing, but hey, that doesn't matter. So I'm going to put this on the centre here. I'm not going to have a sentiment in the front, like that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to be naughty. Probably I should have put this on first, but as you can see, it doesn't go all the way across. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut it. Well, actually, I think what I might do is just glue it so that you've got a piece coming out here and then snip it and then put a piece there. This is not how I would normally do it. Normally I would cut it first and then put it on. So I'm just lining up the bottom of the card here with the grid paper. Just going for it so that it may not be exactly halfway, but hey, it's not too far off. And cut that off. Paper, scissors. Get my paper snips out. That's that. And then I'm going to do exactly the same on the other end. So I'm going to put this on here. Oops. This is where you can see better than me because you're kind of got a bird's eye view. And I can't look at my laptop to see what I'm doing because there's a lag. So what I'm doing now I'll get to see in a little while. There we go. That's, so do as I say, not as I do. There we go. So that's that. Just poke these up again. I do like that they're blue. Well, I don't know, there's a big debate going on as to whether Orchid Oasis is a purple or a blue, and it's kind of both really. There we go. And then the other ones I'm not too worried about. So that's that. Oh, that's not straight, but hey. And then I need to find my piece for the innie, which I know I put somewhere. So that's that. Can't use the paper because I've already used that for the front. So I will stamp a flower. So again, I'm going to use the flower, one of the flowers from the Sending Smile stamp set. Going to stamp that on here like that. I know my ink looks a bit bubbly. It's very, very juicy, but it will dry fine, I hope. It normally does. And then my envelope, just here. If you find that you do have a really juicy ink pad, you can you could either blot it. I don't like to do that because it kind of wastes the ink. So what I tend to do is I will get an old credit card, or actually I usually end up using one of my bone folders, which is why if you look at my bone folders, they're very well coloured in places. And just push the ink away from where it is, just so that you push it to one end, and then obviously then over time it will then shift back to where you want it. I'm gonna go for, I think this is gonna do like a cornflower. What's that? Oops. Aim to try and get the stem that's slightly into the flower. I'm not too worried because I'm actually going to colour the centre with the pale papaya. Now you can, rather than using, there's a really, really tiny stamp that you can use to do the centres. We didn't use them this morning because with 10 people, stamping and cleaning, I didn't want it to go astray, so I'm just going to use a Stampin' Right marker. I would use a Stampin' Blend, but I don't want it to go through my my envelope. So that's that. Now we could also stamp a sentiment on the inside. Do I want to do the sending birthday wishes on here? Could do. Maybe we'll do that. So we'll go back to that. So it's quite a big image, a big sentiment, this. Hopefully that's straight. I probably need to change the setup that I have, and so that I can actually stand and stamp. But I need a higher table to do that. So I've got that, and then we're going to do the paragraph. cookie party with birthday wishes. There we go. I'm happy with that. Turned out all right in the end. So that is going to go inside my card, like that. It even makes a nice card front as well. Simple. Just put this up. So, what was I saying earlier? Oh yes, so we have the retirement list for the January, June catalogue, so that's out. And then today, the buy one get 50% off a kit started. So if you purchase 2 kits, you can get 50% off the most expensive one, which is a really good deal. Especially since they've actually just brought out two new kits arrived in the warehouse. So there's a robot one which is really cute, and one that has a little tin and tiny little cards. So I will share them at some point. But yeah, for June they're doing a buy one get 50% off. And I think that is it. Now am I going to add some? Do I want to add some? I've got bling on there. Now I could add, I've got these as well. So these are the in colour decorative dots. So they're not shiny, but that's okay. But I like these because they're the dark and then they go lighter. So in fact, although this is the sweet sorbet, by the time you get to with the really light colours, it fits in nicely with the pink that I've used on the card front. So you could use pink, that on here. So maybe that's what I'll do. I could go with the big ones actually on this. I'll just put one each side. Oops. Again, use the taking picture. Oops. This one's, it's alive. There we go. And just put that one there. There we go. I know there's 2. I normally go for odd numbers, but yeah, I think just one each side works today. So that's my 4th card. Oops, that doesn't work. Try and clear some of this off. So we have, that's the 4th card with its envelope. And then we have the other 3 cards. So we made, today I ended up making a landscape card, and then the other 3 are portrait cards. So there will be photos going up on the Facebook page. I just need to take them and then get them all sorted. So those are the cards. I hope you've enjoyed that. Next week I'll be back with Stampin' and Creating. And yep, that's it for today. Enjoy your Jubilee weekend. Hopefully the weather will stay good, and I'll see you next week. Take care. Bye.